did say, "Inna ashadda bala'an al-anbiya." The ones who receive the most tests and trials in this life are the prophets. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. Then those who are closer to them in action and piety, and then the ones after them. So the degree of your piety and closest to Allah and to the prophets, the more the tests and the calamities naturally are going to be. But we need to understand two things. Number one, if you are not close to Allah, does that mean you don't get tests and trials? No, you will get tests and trials. But the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give a person who's closer to Allah more sufferings is, number one, the suffering and the test has two aspects to it, to a believer, a strong believer. Number one, Allah knows that with that extra test, that believer is going to pass that test. And the result of passing that test is raising his or her rank even higher. Because Allah wants to raise them higher. Why? Because Allah is just. And on the Day of Judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises people based on the test they went through and how many they passed. So their value rises. So when He sees a strong believer, Allah gives him more calamities and tests to raise his value. And number two, He knows he'll pass them. And number three, there is a third reason scholars said, they become role models of strength for others. Someone has to go through trials in front of you for you to take them as role models, and they be your strength. So Allah chooses the ones who are closer to Him because they can handle it more than people who are not as close to Him. So your trials become less. Sometimes the trials are different. You may not go through the same trial. If I went through a different trial, maybe Allah knows I can't pass it. Maybe the trial that I went through, if you went through it, you won't pass. So Allah gives you a trial that suits you. I want you to remember something, very good question. Any trial you go through, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows already that you have the ability to get through it, inshallah. You have the ability. As for the disbeliever who goes through trials, it's because the disbeliever, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown them signs after signs after signs, and those who give up on Allah, Allah shows them signs after signs after signs. It comes to a point where He just gives them up. He gives them up to who? He gives them up to the natural world. So the calamities they're going through is the natural calamities of the world. And some things which Allah decrees upon them, it's not going to benefit them anything, except in this world, but not in the hereafter. So theirs is a lose-lose situation. But for the believer who's closer to Allah, goes through calamities, it's a win-win situation. I hope, inshallah, that gives you a small summary of it, inshallah.